Hi, I'm Jen from This and That Planning. Welcome back. These are my next set of nails. Okay, there you go. This time we will be planning out August 15th to August 21st. We will be using a Scribble Prints Co. kit called Care. Is that what it's called? Care, yes, Care. So love these patterns. And the bottom washi is adorable. These were the freebies right here. Fashion Grows. And then I believe this is confetti in silver. Those are the same. Bougie boxes, scripts and icons, bottom washi date dots, deco, specialty headers. Okay, so tonight we are doing something a little different. I'm trying to lay down this spread while talking. So this is going to be new. There is a puppy walking around, air conditioning on and off, and I'm also doing laundry. So there's lots of wonderful possible disruptions, and we'll see how I do about talking and laying items down. So I'm just putting everything kind of where I can grab it. So we have our washi. I always start with bougie. I don't know why I don't have a system of how I lay all this out. But there's our fashion. Glitter headers. I think it's Kitness Dress I've seen where she kind of separates the kit if she shows it off. If I was wiser, I would do something similar. Okay, so this week, my guy actually went in for surgery. He had his rotator cuff redone. I'm not sure all the details, but apparently he tore something in his shoulder and he finally went and got that repaired. So that surgery was this week. So I did take 2 days off of work to go with him to the hospital and take care of him once he was back from the hospital. And after that, he said he was doing okay. So I returned to work. I could have taken more time off, but like I said, he said he was fine. So it's better, instead of just staring at him recovering and sleeping and what have you, that I go back to work and get on top of teaching. So I am trying to line all this up and talk at the same time. I am not the best at lining up washi, let alone trying to talk while I'm doing it. This is kind of fun. That's a little off. Do I leave it? Do I fix it? I fix it. Hang on. Where is my undo? It's got to be around here somewhere. No. Oh no, I moved my undo. How could I move my undo? I probably used it on another project, is probably how I did that. So let's see if we can pull this up very carefully. Come on, it's tearing a little. See, this is why we don't talk and lay down washi. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, stop tearing the paper, please stop. Give me back the paper. Thank you. Oh, yikes, there it goes again. Come on, not, please don't be bad. Please be good. Please, I swear. Oh, goodness me. Now it's all curled up. Yikes, this is why we use undo, yeah? I am not the best at this just yet. But let's go ahead and try to lay this down a little bit better. Oh goodness, with it being all curly, this is going to be even more fun. Okay. So this whole surgery experience was not ideal. I've had lots of surgeries myself when I was younger, so I kind of feel like a bit of a pro. But this is a different state, a different hospital than I'm used to. I mean, I've been to a lot of different hospitals myself, but I don't know. I was very under impressed with the whole situation from beginning to end. Yep, see, there's the dog walking around. I apologize, guys. But I am trying to record voiceovers as I lay these down to try to maximize what I do and the time period that I do it in. Also, like what video editing software and what laptops I use. So, anyway, back to the hospital. So we had to do a pre-check-in, which they kind of didn't really tell us because the doctor's office, when we went for the pre-operation appointment, said that they actually asked us if we had registered yet, but they didn't even tell us where we were going to be. And he thought he was going to a clinic and not to a hospital. So he was not aware that he was actually going to a hospital. So they gave him the hospital information that day for the pre-operation appointment, and he was told that he could pre-register if he wanted to, but if he did not want to, then he could just register the day of at the hospital. And the day before his surgery, the hospital contacted him, I want to say. I don't know. They contacted him, not me, because clearly it was his surgery. But anyway, so they contacted him and basically told him that if he did not pre-register, that he would not be able to have a surgery, that they would have to reschedule the surgery, which is kind of problematic because he had done other tests, EKG, blood work, all the things, and the tests expire after so many days or weeks. So if he would have had to reschedule his surgery, then that means that he would not have been able to do it because he would have had to redo all those tests. So that was very problematic. So we ended up having to go to the hospital so he could pre-register the night before. It was kind of crazy. The directions were not clear. Even when we got to where the address that we were given, trying to find parking was a challenge. We ended up parking in a parking garage. When we walked in, we had to sign in at the front desk, and they're like, oh, what are you here for? Where are you headed, kind of a thing. And then they tried to give us directions, but it was kind of confusing. And then when we found where we were supposed to go, we were sitting down waiting and nobody was really coming or assisting. And so he walked up to the window to sign in, maybe just let him know that we were there waiting. And he was standing there for a while. And then finally someone, I guess he got someone's attention, or they finally decided to speak to him. I'm not 100% sure how that went. But anyway, so when they were talking, he told them what they were there for, and they're like, oh, we're not supposed to be monitoring this window. Well, that was literally the only window to pre-register for operations. And don't know if the person was on lunch break that was supposed to be monitoring it, or why they decided that they were not monitoring it. I have no idea. They were not clear. And we were there for an awful long time for an awful lot of nothing. And anyway, so that was the pre-registration. And then actually, hang on, double boxes in the middle, so now it's going up top. Kind of how I do that, a little wandering. So let's see what else we had. The little doctor, what does this doctor thing say? Thank you for booking your appointment. No? Okay. So, let me see here. Wait a minute. Did these make a double box scene with the double box? I know she's good for that. Sometimes, like, secret double box scenes. No, because it is over a little bit too far. Okay. So it's not a double box scene. It's not a secret double box scene. I think we're going to go with the hospital for the double box. I usually like to do one, or I like to use extenders for that. And yes, I usually do plan it out as I'm sitting here and recording. So anyway, day of the surgery, we go back to the same place, but now there's really no parking. Like, it was almost impossible to get a parking spot. And we ended up back at the parking garage. And the parking garage was actually quite a bit of ways away from where we had to enter. It's almost like an entire building away. And anyways, the only parking we could find, and was almost on the very top level. There were a lot of cars trying to find parking. Not the easiest thing to get that day. So we get in and we go to that table that we signed in before, and we have our masks on. We actually brought our own at that point, because now, like, apparently when you're in the hospital, you have to wear a mask. Did not know this. But, COVID, you almost never know what's different policies and procedures for almost every place you go to. So we had our masks on, and one thing I did not appreciate, like, I was so angry, and it's such a little thing. The lady just took my temperature with, like, that little temperature gun. So when they started doing that, when they were taking temperatures, like, in public places, the first place that I'd ever seen that, like, that little gun that they use to take your temperature, was in Mexico. And it was just at a grocery store. My friend and I were staying at an Airbnb, so we went to go get groceries. And on your way in the grocery store, they gave you hand sanitizer, and they took your temperature on your wrist. They asked for your wrist in Mexico. And every place I went, they asked for your wrist. Any place, like, they were always taking your temperature, even where we stayed, which was kind of interesting. They took your temperature. And why I say that's interesting, because what would happen if we would have had a fever? Are we not allowed to go into where our Airbnb is? That's literally where all our things are and where we're staying. So anyway, but every place that we went in Mexico, they used the temperature guns, and they always took it off your wrist. So when I returned to the United States, and when I started encountering people in the US taking temperatures, it was interesting, because they had, they were wanting your forehead. And that was so odd to me, because it's a gun-like shaped thing, and it has a trigger to take a temperature, and they're wanting to point it at your forehead. But every place in the United States, I've just always offered up my wrist, and they've always taken the temperature off of my wrist. A lot of times, more often than not, people actually ask you, or at least tell you, inform you that they're going to take your temperature. So why does all this matter? When I was signing in, the lady just put the temperature gun, like, basically right up to my forehead, and decided that she was going to take my temperature without asking me, notifying me, anything. I mean, I would gladly allow her to take my temperature, and I would have gladly offered up my wrist. And instead, she just went ahead and did my temperature off of my forehead with a gun-like object. I don't understand how that became okay, that somebody pointing something like a gun at your forehead and pulling the trigger without even asking permission. Because of COVID at my high school, we started doing digital passes, and it's actually really kind of cool. So in order to do a digital pass, we take a picture of the student. Now, last year when we started doing this, I actually didn't appreciate that, It's so rude when somebody shoves a camera in your face and takes a picture of you. So since I find that rude, I wouldn't do that to my students. So I would always ask for their student IDs, and I would take a picture of their student IDs. The problem is, a lot of the students do not like their school pictures. So they were either putting a sticker over top of their picture, or they were blacking it out. They would take a Sharpie and completely black out their face on their student ID. So you could not see what they look like at all for the digital pass. But all year I did it. And towards the end of the year, we had a staff meeting. And they said in our staff meeting that they wanted us taking a picture of the student with their ID next to their face, is how they wanted us to do the digital passes. And it was so close to the end of the year, I just didn't bother changing. But this year, I do take a picture of the kids because, like I said, a lot of them black out their photos or put a sticker over their photo. And I get that 100% because, first off, oh, can we talk about these high school picture photographers or these school picture photographers? Like I've said to my students year after year, I swear they really do an audition for school photographers. And if you are one, I apologize, but some of them are good. I'm not going to lie. But for the most part, it's like the worst picture takers are the ones that they send to do school pictures. What do I mean? Last year, the person that took my picture told me to put my chin down, and they had me sit to where I couldn't be any wider in the picture. And I'm like, wait, what? It's like, if Instagram or whatever hasn't taught us anything, it's how to, at least look a little bit attractive in pictures. Maybe you might not be the most photogenic person, but at least somewhat. But I'm telling you, these photographers are something else for school pictures. So I understand why the kids would be like, no, especially when they're used to their filters and being able to edit and get the lighting right. And then they have these school pictures where it's inside. And some of the least talented people, this year it was a good person that took the photo. She did a really good job. I liked it. But years past, oh my goodness. So I understand why these kids might be like, black out my picture, put a sticker over it. I get it. So, anyway, wow. So my students and passes, I still, even today, now that I'm back or taking photos of them, I don't want to say back because I never really did. But I do take pictures of them now, and I always ask permission. I ask them before I stamp their photo. They ask if they can go to the bathroom, and I say yes, and then I say, may I take a picture of you? I don't just snap a photo. So when I was at the hospital and he's getting ready to have a surgery, and they're pointing something that resembles a gun at my head, and they pull the trigger, they didn't ask my permission. They didn't tell me. It's very intrusive, and it's just weird to me that this is a normal thing in the world. Like, why is this a normal thing? Let's see. Trying to see what I want, what looks cute. Okay. I think we're gonna do her. But anyway, so yeah, I was entirely not happy, and I even let her know. I'm like, I would prefer if you had taken it off of my wrist. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, it's quite rude to take something shaped like a gun and put it up to my head, and take my temperature without even asking or anything. And she just ignored me. So I'm like, okay, wow. It's like you're at a hospital, and my experience in the past is generally, especially like with nurses and support staff. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is just my experience, that doctors, especially surgeons, can be assholes. Or, I'm sorry, is that wrong, inappropriate language for YouTube? Maybe I'll have to beat myself out. But they can be jerks, they're just a little bit too full of themselves. I mean, they worked hard for the privilege, not gonna lie. Med school is not the easiest thing, and they do a lot of years to get where they are to be a surgeon. So partly they are entitled. But sometimes surgeons just don't always have the best manners. Sometimes they have some of the best, but usually the staff at the hospital is pretty good. But that was not my experience, you know. I mean, that was not okay. I really was not happy about that. But we went ahead and went in. They gave him paperwork, sent him up to the second floor. Again, bad directions. I get that they work there and they're in the hospital every day. We're not in the hospital every day. So this is like, he was there. God, when was he there? He was there 2 or 3 years prior to this for a similar surgery. And it was different because COVID going on. Like, he had to have his ride sign in to say that they were there, so he was not driving himself. So they would not even admit him unless they knew he had a ride. But then the person that came with him to drop him off and pick him up was not allowed in the hospital because they were not the one having the procedure. So they weren't even allowed to come in beyond signing. So it was very different. And anyway, so we went up and we're at a desk, and the lady at the desk, you know, tells him to sign in, and he's signing in. And while he's trying to sign in, she's like, I also need your stickers or whatever. And the only stickers that we could even think of that we had been handed was our name tags. And I pointed at my name tag, and she just rolled her eyes, and she's like, no. She's like, a white paper that has stickers on it. And it was like, okay, again, we don't get operations every day. We don't know. You don't need to roll your eyes and be rude. You know, that's kind of the experience that we were having. I don't know what the deal was. Oh, hang on. Okay, sorry. My guy got up and got a soda, and it surprised me. I did not realize he was still awake. I know I was talking about the hospital. Yeah, the lady rolling her eyes about the stickers. And she seemed like she was in a hurry for the stickers, and he was trying to sign in, and he just had a lot going on. So I got the stickers out of his hand for him and gave them to her. And then again, she's giving me an attitude, and she's like, I could have waited. You didn't have to do that. Okay. And then she tells us to sit, and we're there sitting for what seemed like an eternity. You know how it goes. You're there, you got up early, drove all the way there, check in, took you forever to get parking. Oh, he was having trouble with his phone because he was getting called from the hospital as we were in the hospital trying to navigate the hospital. He called them back while we were waiting, and they're like, yeah, are you here? Like, when are you going to come and check in? And he's like, we've already checked in. And they're like, oh, we'll be out to get you. So again, we're there, we're waiting. They come and get us, and they get him ready. They prep him for surgery. They allowed me to be back there with him, which was nice. And the nurses there were very nice. And then when they took him, they basically guided me out of the pre-op area, and I had all his stuff, all his belongings. And they let me know where the food was because, you know, he can't eat so many hours ahead of time before the surgery. And just, I wanted to be nice and show my support. So I did not eat as well. So that way he wasn't the only one going without food. And then that way, you know, he wouldn't kiss me and, you know, taste the food on my mouth and be like, what? Why do you get food? Kind of a deal. So, yep, the dog walking on the floor again. Sorry, she is walking around. But anyway, so yeah, they showed me where the cafeteria was that I could get food. And I went down and got food and ate in the cafeteria, and was not the best. Okay, whatever. Then I went back up to where I was at, and I brought plenty to keep me busy. You know, grades, computer, you know, had stuff that I had to set up on my computer because even though we're back in person, since our district bought laptops, Chromebooks for all our students, And they bought a platform, like a virtual platform. They still want us to use it. So we are using the virtual platform and doing our grading and stuff on it. So we still need to set up our classrooms. Having one day to set up our room is usually our physical room and does not account for our virtual classroom. So took the day to do that and get caught up on other things and, the all important Animal Crossing. But anyway, so just sitting there, and they told me initially that his surgery should be about 90 minutes to 2 hours, depending on who is performing the surgery, is what I was told. And I'm out there, and it's past 2 hours, and it's like, okay. And you're seeing a lot of surgeons come out and talk to people, and I'm just sitting there. The lady that was so rude at the desk is gone. She actually put up a note saying to contact the front desk, I guess, because nobody was now covering that desk. I'm not sure how that exactly goes. So again, just watching lots of surgeons come out, talk to a lot of people leave. Just sitting and sitting. And they did another weird thing. So, well, where we're sitting, not exactly sure why or what, but they would occasionally take patients through on hospital beds that were awake. They would take them through the whole lobby where people are waiting for their loved ones who are having surgery. Like, wait, is this the right color? See that whole talking and laying down stickers. This is interesting. So I thought that was odd. Here they're in hospital gowns. They look like they had just been operated on. They're getting wheeled through an open lobby of, people waiting. It was strange. And sometimes like they would get wheeled one way and then back another way. But yeah, so 2 hours come and go. When we start hitting 3 hours, I start getting worried. And about that time, I had to go to the bathroom as well. And I'm just like, I didn't even want to go to the bathroom because I was afraid somebody would come out to talk to me and I wouldn't be there, that I'd be in the restroom. So I was trying not to go to the bathroom. Somebody from work, he was like an expert. He helps me out with robotics. He's like an expert at surgeries, apparently. He said that, he has summers off in a car. So he's like the designated drive people to surgery person in his family and his wife's family. But I told him I was still waiting, and he's like, yeah, don't worry about it. He's like, they're always off on their times. He's like, go ahead and go to the bathroom. And I'm like, well, what if they come out? And he's like, they'll call you. And I'm like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. So I did. I just, I'm like, all right. I mean, I don't know how much longer I'll have to hold it. But the surgery ended up being 5 hours. And it's weird to me because in the past when I've went with people to their surgeries, and I've had a lot of surgeries, and my family members have told me, the state that I'm familiar with, they usually come out and tell people, how things are going, especially when it's something that long. 5 hours of being operated on. And even in this time, it's like another thing, because in the hospital, you got to wear your mask. So I'm seeing a lot of people, a lot of staff from the hospital finish their shifts, and they're walking out no mask. Mask is in their hand or off their face. Okay, they have a long day being in a mask, but still find it's odd that you don't even get down to the lobby before you're taking your mask off. It's like, thought you'd set the example at your workplace, if it really mattered that they would adhere to it, but no, they're not. And it's like, okay, some of them, they're leaving in scrubs. Others look like they're going out for a night on the town and wearing even what I would call inappropriate for a hospital attire. So yeah, just interesting, just sitting there, watch. But nobody's coming out. Nobody's talking to me. Like I said, nobody's at the desk. So I don't even know what I would do. And I don't want to disturb people. So I don't know. And more people are leaving. Somebody even told me, "Oh, you're just moved in here, aren't you?" Because I was there so long. And they noticed that I had been there for quite some time. So, yeah, it was it was crazy. And not hearing from anybody, I was super nervous and didn't even know what to do. I was kind of starting to panic a little, but I'm like, what am I going to do? And who am I even going to contact? Like, I want to bug these people. So, wasn't 100% sure what to do. And then all of a sudden, and this is like another weird thing, his phone rings. I had his phone, because like I said, I had all his items. So I had his phone, and his phone rang. And I'm like, okay, that's odd. And I didn't even know, like, I've seen somebody else answer like their spouse's phone after that. I'm not used to answering somebody else's cell phone. Just don't think I have, at least not, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if it's my mom's cell phone and it's a family member or something, like, they're going to know my voice, like my brother's going to know it's me. So, yeah, like that type of a situation. So I'm used to that, but his phone, I'm not sure. And another thing, he doesn't save people's numbers in his phone. That's like another odd thing, like he even has family members that, it's just a number and he's like, oh, that's my sister. It's like, what? You don't have your sister's number saved? And he just, as soon as he saw the number, he's like, oh, that's my sister. So his phone rings and I'm like, wow, that's odd. So I just answered his phone and like a dummy, I'm just like, hello, didn't say it was his phone. I just legit said hello. And they asked for him and I'm like, he's in surgery right now. I'm like, can I take a message? And he's like, it's the surgeon. He's like, so he's actually out of surgery now. And I'm like, wait, this is weird because while I was sitting in the lobby, I saw all these other surgeons come out to talk to the family members, or loved ones, whoever's there waiting for them. So it's like I'm seeing all these, surgeons come out and talk to people, and he's calling on my guy's cell phone. I'm like, wait, what? That was the oddest thing. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? And told me that everything was fine, that he'll be like in recovery for about an hour, and then they should come get me. And basically hung up. And it was like, oh, okay, good to know that he's fine, but that's 3 hours past what I was told. 3 hours. I mean, I could see a little bit of time, but 3 hours is a lot of time, not a little bit. So that was kind of, wasn't happy about that. So anyway, just waiting longer, and 2 hours after the surgery, a nurse, was it a nurse, came out, and at that point I'm basically the only person in the waiting room. Like everybody else is gone, checked out. And she's like, oh yeah, he's past the first stage of recovery and you can come back and see him now. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then she's like, he's not feeling well. He's feeling very sick. And I'm like, wow, that's a little concerning. He's not feeling well. And again, people were nice enough that we were dealing with. Offered me something to drink, trying to give me advice, trying to help him. He's super sick to his stomach. He was just so sick. And they're like, oh yeah, that's the anesthetic. He'll be fine. It'll wear off, moving around, whatever. That's what's causing him to not feel so well. And yeah, so I'm just like, okay. And they're trying to help us. He's super wobbly, not feeling well. At one point I had moved the car a little closer so he didn't have to walk 5 miles after surgery to get the car. And Then out of nowhere, I don't know what happened. It's like somebody flipped a switch and they just wanted us out of there. So I put his sweatpants on him, or helped him put his sweatpants on. And he still had the hospital gown on, hospital slippers on, you know, again, still very, very sick. And they're just basically rushing us out the door. And it was very, very odd. And he got in the car and it was trying to help with the seatbelt. And I don't know what you would call the gentleman. I don't know if he was a nurse or I don't know what you call them, because sometimes they're like, it's not a nurse, it's something else. I don't know. I wish I knew. Right now, I wish I knew so I could say the right word. But anyway, so he was there helping him from the start. And I was trying to help him with the seatbelt. And he's like, oh, you'll probably do a better job than me. And next thing I know, he went inside, they turn the lights off, and the doors are locked. And so we're just sitting in a car in front of the hospital, and lights are off, doors locked, you know, nobody's even around. And I'm like, wow, because he had just gotten out of surgery, like, and he still was very sick to his stomach, which is kind of surprising because the last time I had a surgery, now it was a long time ago. You know, I'm 45, and the last surgery I had, I want to say I was 22, like 21 or 22. So it's been a lot of years. It's been like half my life ago. I was allergic to the anesthetic that they gave me. And so I was very nauseous. And when I woke up from surgery, they would ask me, you know, how was I feeling? Was I nauseous? You know, all the things. And every time that I told them yes, they're like, we'll get you something for that. And then they told me when I was more awake, you know, because they gave me a lot of pain meds and they gave me a lot of anti-nausea, everything. It was a pretty big surgery that I had. Not like a rotator cuff like my guy, but I had an artificial eardrum put in. So, and they also removed part of my skull. So, but yeah, so I mean, it's, you know, different surgeries entirely. But me not feeling well, they did not want me getting sick. They're like, it is very important you do not get sick because we don't want you dehydrated, like you need to have fluids, blah, blah, blah. And that was a huge concern the last time I was in a hospital. So now here he is not feeling well, feeling very, very nauseous, and they're locking us out of the hospital. You know, they're basically kicking us out and locking us out. I mean, I would have thought that with the surgery running longer and the recovery running longer, that they would have, Deco, that they would have tried to make sure that he was okay. You know, I think the Band-Aid's adorable, but I like the gloves as well. So this is always a struggle. They always got like the cutest Deco. Just adorable masks. I'm so over masks. They always have such cute. I'm going with the Band-Aid. I have to. It's the first thing I noticed. So anyway, I felt like they just kind of threw us out of the hospital and they didn't care. And even they gave us bags and we didn't even have an opportunity to know what was in the bags. And later there was, I want to say 4 or 5 puke bags that they sent us out of the hospital with. So it's like they really just wanted us out. But like I said, with the length of his surgery and with the length of the recovery time, I really would have thought that they would have just admitted him. And we live far from where he had the surgery. It's like a 90-minute drive. So it's real late at night. It's a 90-minute drive. He's not feeling well. I would have thought that for sure that they would have admitted him, told me to go home and come pick him up in the morning, you know? But they didn't do that. He was not feeling well. They knew he wasn't feeling well. and they send him home with 5 puke bags. They're just like, oh, here, have fun. Have fun with that. So, yeah, not happy, not a fan. It seemed like they just wanted to get home and end their shift and lock down the hospital and didn't want to be bothered with us. So I was not impressed, and it was not a fun experience. So I don't know if this is more typical of now or if that is an unusual, because like I said, my experience overall, I've never had these types of experiences. As a matter of fact, the hospitals that I've went to and the procedures that I've had, more often than not, things go slightly awry and they're wanting to admit you. And usually what it was, because a lot of times I was underage for most of my surgeries, my mother did not want me staying the night in the hospital. So a lot of times they would be trying to get my mom to admit me overnight, and my mom was telling them, no, my daughter is not spending the night in the hospital. So, it's different than, oh, we got to hurry up and get him out because the surgery was 3 hours longer than planned and recovery was an extra hour longer than planned. Like at that point, you've already went over 4 hours. And his surgery wasn't even scheduled until like 11:30. So it was a very late night. And then I even told the nurse, with him being as wobbly as he was, that I was not feeling comfortable with my ability to get him in the house safely by myself. And she said, well, why don't you call family members and have family members meet you, do like a slumber party. And him and I, like, we have family members in a different state, and then he has other family members in a closer state, but again, they're like an 8-hour drive away. So, I don't understand. I still don't understand why they did not make the call to just admit him and have me get him the next day. And they're like, oh, why don't you get a neighbor? It's like, I'm supposed to knock on a neighbor's door at midnight and ask them for help getting him in the house. That does not seem like, I don't know. Because you know what? I do know his neighbors, and his neighbors are just the sweetest people. And I'm very sure that they would have more than, they would have been more than happy to help. And I get that, but, I'm not going to knock on a neighbor's door at midnight, 1 o'clock to be like, hey, can you help me get him in the house? So, and again, he was not feeling well and not prepared for coming home so late. It just awful, awful, awful experience. And I'm not happy. And yeah. And even himself, like on his end, what I heard from him, when they put the anesthetic into his IV in his hand, he said it was burning. And he almost tore it out because he told the anesthetician or anesthesiologist. It would have been an anesthetician or See, I've had too many operations, y'all. I should not know names of different people. So they're the people that do put you to sleep or give you, like blocks. If they had a nursing degree first, they are a anesthetician. And if they got their medical doctorate's degree before they did it, they are an anesthesiologist. And anestheticians have to be supervised by an anesthesiologist at all times. So like they can do their procedures, and they know, they're very knowledgeable. Sometimes, the nurses will know more than the doctors. But anyways, so the anestheticians, they can do all their own stuff, but you have to have an anesthesiologist on staff from what I understand. So yeah, if things go sideways, there has to be one available, is what I gather. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not in the medical field. I've just had way too many procedures. So anyway, he had told the person that was giving him the medicine to fall asleep with, the anesthetic or in a whatever. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that they give you so you fall asleep. So the person, when they were putting that in and it was burning, he's like, something's not right. And he tried pulling out his IV. And they stopped him from pulling it out. And they're like, you'll be fine. And then, you know, he was super nauseous. He was nauseous all night long, like the whole ride home. After we got home, super sick. And the next morning, he wasn't sick, but he was in a lot of pain. And he was in a lot more pain than the first time he had the surgery done. So he just had a time of it as well. But I'm good to say he did not fall. I was able to get him out of the car safe and sound with him not feeling well. And this is the part I felt bad about, but I didn't know what to do. Again, it was late when we were leaving and we had a long drive. So I stopped at a grocery store near the hospital, which did not seem like it was a good neighborhood. I don't know. I'm not familiar with that neighborhood. But after dark, everything seems a little scary. They were closing the grocery store. I wanted to get him some Jell-O, whether you've heard of it or not, because a lot of people don't seem to have heard of it. They actually created Jell-O to help with nauseousness. So a lot of times when my stomach was upset, my mom would give it to me. And it always worked out really well. So I'm not seeing a double box with this setup. So I usually like the box around my fashion girls. So we'll do that with the bow because, you know, why not? But anyway, so I wanted to get him some Jell-O water. That's why not. It's like through her eye. If I don't look at it, it doesn't exist, right? I have a bad habit of saying that. But I wanted to get him some Jell-O. Well, it's what you do is you make it up like Jell-O, but you don't put it in the refrigerator to set. You just give it to him like in a mug, and it helps settle the stomach. My mom has done that since I was little. And it has always worked very well. And everybody I have ever introduced that to, they end up loving it. So you have to have the ones with sugar because a lot of times if they don't feel well, they're not really eating. So sugar is something that the body burns fast. So it gives them, you know, something. And then the gelatin helps coat, you know, like the stomach and the throat. So all the things that can be bothering us when we don't feel well. So, yeah. I wanted to get him Jell-O water, and him not feeling well and being way out of it from being operated on so long. And the stores are closing. They're definitely going to be closed by the time I got home. So I asked him, I'm like, okay, you got some options here, because I just didn't feel like it was a safe neighborhood. I'm like, I can leave the car running, but I'm going to have to leave it unlocked with you in it, because I didn't know if he would fall asleep, if I'd be able to wake him up to get back in the car. Wasn't 100% sure. So I'm like, I can leave the car running, but I will have to leave it unlocked. I said, or I will have to turn the car off and have you in the car. Now it's over 100 degrees, but it is after dark, you know, but he was not feeling well, and I needed to get the Jell-O, and he didn't have any at home. So we needed to get some. So yeah, I sadly left him locked in a car in a parking lot all by himself. You know, while I went in to get this Jell-O water. So I feel really bad about that. Like really bad. I still feel horrible about it, but there was not much I could do because, like I said, the hospital, they just kind of threw us out, and he was not feeling well. So I knew that I was going to need to make him up some as soon as we got home, which is what I did. And he actually did tell me that he started feeling better. First, he's like, no, I don't want it. And I'm like, I'm going to make it, and you're going to take it, and then you can tell me you don't want it. And he did, and he's like, wow. He goes, that actually works out really, really nice. You know, it goes down nice. And I'm like, see, Jello water for the win. And actually, now we're all stocked up. A whole bunch of packets of Jello for him and I. He prefers strawberry, and I prefer cherry. So we got several of both. But yeah, no, it was nice that I went and had that. And he even had to have some the next day. He was even asking for pain meds because, and then the pain meds didn't help his pain. They just made him more sick. So it was just a whole ordeal. And I'm not understanding what's going on when you have people. I really feel like they threw us out. I mean, what would have happened if he would have started seizing, you know, or something? He legit was just out of surgery, and they didn't even make sure he was 100% okay before they put us out. So that was not fun. But anyway, to continue on with the madness, because how do they say, like, Murphy's Law? What can go wrong will go wrong, what have you. So when I went back to work, my car broke down, and my guy is a mechanic. And so just right after he has shoulder surgery. So he had his shoulder surgery on Tuesday, and I had Tuesday and Wednesday off with him. And then, yeah, I had Tuesday and Wednesday off with him. And then I went back to work, and my car was overheating on Thursday and on Friday. And by Friday, we were having it towed to a dealership. Or no, we didn't have it towed to a dealership. We had it towed to his house. And yeah, my goodness, like, it's just been one thing after another. So, but like I said, Murphy's Law, right? What can go wrong will go wrong. So there was that, you know. And he has a couple of cars, and all of them, either it's too expensive in gas, or ooh, did I do this wrong? Pattern, solid, pattern, pattern. Wait, this should be, wait. Oh, I did do it wrong. Doggone. Oh, let's see if we can work this out here. So maybe I start with solid. See, when you're talking and filming, all the fun things happen. So this would be pattern, solid, pattern. So this guy, no, no. Jeez, oh man, what am I doing? This guy doesn't go here. It's supposed to go on that one. Oh, goodness me. We're really doing well. But anyway, he has a couple of cars, and with the gas prices, the trucks are kind of out for the long commute to work. And so we tried that actually for a week, and I put gas in it, and I just about cried. It was $150 to fill up his tank on the truck, and it was only just a few trips back and forth. And I'm like, whoa, I can't afford $150 to go back and forth. Like, that is a bit nuts. Wait a minute, which one is this? This is the second pink. Huh? Solid, pattern, solid. What did I do? I'm so lost. Hang on, guys. What are we doing? I'm losing my mind. That is what I am doing. Okay. Solid, pattern, solid. Pattern, pattern is usually how I do that. Okay, hang on. Let's get these where they belong. Goodness me. See, this is why you don't want to record voices and do this at the same time. I swear, I'm actually quite good at multitasking, but apparently not today. So yeah, we usually do pattern, pattern, and then this guy would go over here. Yeah. This guy goes here. Come on, go down. I don't know if any of you guys. Oh, boy, we're just really batting 1,000. Take a chunk out of it. Well, I have a philosophy. If you don't look at it, it doesn't exist. And it's a very, very small chunk. So after a while, I'm not even going to remember that was there. But I don't know if any of you guys work in the hospital, but I do have family members and friends that work in the hospital and even like paramedic services. And even though they can have some strange senses of humor, they are usually very wonderful people, and they are usually very sweet and caring and understanding. So it's just very different that, I feel like we were literally thrown out of a hospital is how I feel. Did I do that right? I think I did that right now. So then this guy goes here. We'll get there eventually. We're almost there. And the light green. Beautiful. Yeah. But like I said, I found the whole experience odd. And then on top of it, end up having car trouble, like right as my wonderful master mechanic guy is recovering from his massive shoulder surgery. So it's very interesting. Still love these wacky holidays. Let's see, this is the day he was operated on Tuesday, and it was roller coaster day. Boy, I felt that because it was just a crazy up and down day. But yeah, it seemed like all the people that worked at the hospital that I interacted with just were not nice. From the second that they just took my temperature without asking and just pointing a gun-like object at my forehead, to even down in the cafeteria, when I got my food, they were not so polite. Nobody coming out to tell me, hey, he's still okay. The surgery's just running longer than they anticipated. Like nothing. Even the surgeon on the phone, like I was so confused. And he's like, oh, I didn't know who to call, which is so odd because both the hospital and his assistant, intern, I think she's like his, I mean, I don't know, because she said that if we call anything with him, that she's going to be the person handling it, and she'd be in the surgery right next to him. Might even be performing the surgery. So I assume intern. Don't know if it has a different name, but she took all my information down. So everybody had my information. So for the doctor to be like, oh, I didn't know who to call or, what to do. But here we go. It looks like that is the spread. Let me get up here and see if we're all in frame. A little awkward. There we go. So there we go. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.